Lean in and say where we're going.
Restoration Hardware.
Why?
We're going to have lunch, a beautiful lunch.
We're going to see if it's worth it.
Yep, that's what we're going to do. It's not an inexpensive place. We're going to see if it's worth the expense.
I just had a $200 lunch at RH in Philip's Place. Was it worth it? I think my mom thought so. Let's find out. RH, furniture store that turned into a fancy furniture store that turned into a fancy furniture store with restaurants. I went on a small dive of research for this video, meaning I read 2 articles, and I will link them both in the description. They're both New York Times articles. One is from 2022, one is from 2024. RH began as Restoration Hardware in 1979. Its founder, Stephen Gordon, had a hard time finding high-quality hardware for a Victorian home he was restoring, so he established a business to address that need, hence the name Restoration Hardware. In 2001, the current CEO, Gary Friedman, came aboard, and he's really tried hard to steer the company's ship towards the luxury market, rebranding the company as RH to downplay the hardware of it all and give the company this sleek contemporary image. From the 2024 article, quote, "Few companies are better at exploiting the American obsession with affluence than RH. It sells the kind of sleek, oversized furniture seen on television shows like Succession, and it does it through a singular kind of experiential shopping. With their soaring ceilings and zen ambiance, RH showrooms are a daydreamer's fantasy of a billionaire's home." The article also refers to this style as California rich, and I think that's on point. I will admit, as someone who doesn't consume any Kardashian content, the RH showroom is sort of what I imagine the inside of a Kardashian's home to look like. So why does a California rich store have restaurants? It's all a part of Gary's desire to establish the brand further as a premium luxury brand. From the 2024 article, quote, "He, Gary, wants to broaden RH's appeal beyond the upwardly mobile who are now its core customers and pitch the brand to the ultra-rich. Hence more RH restaurants with main courses that include such decadent signaling dishes as a $125 grilled Wagyu ribeye steak." So this is a way of further promoting RH as a luxury company. The dining experience you're having there is meant to make you feel like you're living, even for just an hour or two, in this luxe RH bubble. The dining space reflects that, the menu reflects that, certainly the prices. But is it good? When we pay luxury prices in a dining establishment, we expect high-quality service, high-quality dining experience, so does it deliver? Gary is a former Williams-Sonoma exec, so it seems reasonable to think that maybe he would know something about food. In the 2022 article, Gary says he hired, quote, "arguably the best chef in the world" for advice on the menus, but he doesn't say who that is. The article also mentions that Gary, while overseeing menu development for the RH San Francisco restaurant, quote, "banned black pepper from the kitchen after tasting a version of the rotisserie chicken that seemed too spicy. And when the caviar and the avocado appetizer tasted rancid, someone from the caviar company flew in to assess the problem. A cook had spritzed lemon on it. Mr. Friedman, Gary, banned lemon." First of all, I thought the idea of black pepper being too spicy for some people was a joke. Like a what in the caucasity joke. I didn't know that anybody ever actually thought that. And it seems odd to ban a whole, what I would argue is like a staple ingredient in a kitchen, lemon, because one guy used it on the wrong thing. Why wouldn't you just say not to do that? What? Seems like an overreaction.
That was an overreaction.
It gives one pause. I don't know if I trust you, Gary. Don't know. Before I get into the actual details of the lunch that I had with my mom, I want to throw out one more quote from the 2024 article, just for you to keep in your brain throughout this. Quote, "This is the RH strategy. Sell a premium product in a setting so dazzling that it seems worth near luxury prices." Just keep that in mind. With that, let's have lunch. The first thing I always notice about this building whenever I'm in this part of town is how imposing it is. This seems like it's trying to be an impressive space more than it's trying to be like a welcoming space. It's giving intimidating instead of inviting. But that's honestly how I feel about this whole California rich aesthetic. Once you get inside the showroom, it feels like a Mean Girls house. is the best way I can describe it. It's very attractive, it's very aesthetic, but it doesn't feel like you could just plop down on one of these couches and make yourself at home among these pieces. I mean, they're beautiful, and in some cases they do look very comfortable, but there's a whole, like, don't touch anything air about this place. Everything is very pristine. The showroom employees are always kind of scoping you out, like you might abscond with like a $3,000 chair somehow. Get your grubby little fingerprints on an all-white couch. I just feel like I'm always on the verge of being scolded in here. Once you get to the dining space, I do think it feels a little more welcome, a little lighter, a little more inviting. The menu. So I noticed the RH menu has been expanded from the last time I visited, and I was happy to see that. I think this is a better size menu for a place like this. You'll recall the quote I mentioned earlier referenced the dishes on this menu as decadent signaling, and I think that's very much the case. Not only are items just expensive full stop, but the most decadent items are featured very prominently, as we can see in the second line of the menu, under caviar specialties. They offer caviar 3 ways, with 2 size options for each. The most expensive thing on the menu and most expensive thing within the caviar specialties being the impossibly thin homemade chips and dip with caviar at $95 for 30 grams of caviar. The second most expensive menu item is the larger size of the mini lobster rolls with caviar at $68 for 4 mini rolls with 20 grams of caviar. And the third most expensive thing on the menu is the charred ribeye main at $66. They also have a pretty large wine list. This location only serves beer and wine, so no liquor, which is a little surprising to me. I think a bar in here would probably do really well. But no fancy cocktails, no top shelf whiskey pours or anything. They do have a few wine cocktails like mimosas, bellinis. These all float around a $20 price tag, which is expensive considering, with a mimosa, you're not really even getting like a full pour of Prosecco. You're getting Prosecco and orange juice. The Cappelletti Spritz is probably the most egregious example of this. $19 for Prosecco, soda, and orange juice. Just get the mimosa for $1 less. It'll probably have more Prosecco in it. It was a drizzly day when we went, so they didn't have their patio seating available, but I'm sure it's lovely out there on nice days. It looks like a very pleasant patio. And in general, this is a lovely space to be in. There's this chandelier plus olive tree decor going on with the glass and steel ceiling that make this sort of feel like an open space. I wouldn't personally decorate anything like this myself. I think when you really sit and absorb the room for like more than just a passing moment, I think the olive trees plus chandeliers like turn kind of goofy if you think about it too hard. But it does feel sort of elevated and fantastical. It makes for an enjoyable dining environment, and it is very photogenic, which I think is probably mostly the point. I ordered a matcha latte and a bottle of Pellegrino. Matcha latte was just fine. Not the best one I've ever had, not the worst one I've ever had. Perfectly serviceable, and the foam art looked nice. Mom got an unsweet tea and dumped fake sweetener into it, as is her wont. For my meal, I decided on the kale Caesar with buttered lobster. And I will say right off the bat, number 1, it looked very beautiful. I really thought this was some very attractive plating. And number 2, they give you a good amount of lobster, and I was very happy with that. There were some nice big chunks of claw meat in there, and that did feel quite luxe. However, I felt the lobster itself was under-seasoned. It would have been helped by some lemon, like a squeeze of lemon on top. I was surprised it wasn't served with a lemon wedge for this very purpose, but we know Gary has some sort of a beef with lemon, so maybe that explains it. The salad itself was very good. Not mind-blowing. I get a kale Caesar at Growlers in Noda here in Charlotte pretty often, and that kale Caesar is like $13. It doesn't come with buttered lobster, but it's great, and it's a big kale Caesar salad, and it's $13. The RH salad, just the salad without the buttered lobster edition, is $19. And I don't think there is a $6 difference in quality between these two salads. I thought there could have been more dressing on the salad, or that the dressing they had could have been a little more flavorful, but I wasn't unhappy with the salad. It was satisfying nonetheless. Mom is a big caviar fan, so she went with the 8-piece caviar with blini. I had one of these and it was very good. I like this ratio of creme fraiche to caviar. I like a healthy dollop of creme fraiche. Creme fraiche. Mom also got a glass of white wine to accompany her caviar and enjoyed it. Our server did a good job picking out a recommendation for her. And I do want to take a moment to mention that our service was great overall. The servers were attentive, but we didn't feel rushed. The only odd thing is I didn't finish my salad, and I ended up needing a box to take the rest of it home, and they didn't box it up for me. They just brought me a box to do it myself, which is fine. I have boxed my leftovers up many times. But in a place that's trying so hard to seem so upscale, it was weird. I fully expect growlers, again, like a neighborhood pub, to just like toss a box at me when I need one. But a place like RH, I was fully expecting them to whisk my leftover salad away and bring it back to me like beautifully boxed up in a little RH bag. And they didn't. I think they did end up bringing me a bag for my box. But I don't know, it's a small thing, but I think it kind of takes you out of the luxury mindset to be like scraping your leftovers into a box at the table. Like it costs you nothing but 5 minutes of a server's time to maintain that level of upscale service. So I don't know why that isn't just standard. So our total for lunch, which included a matcha latte, bottle of sparkling water, glass of tea, which I just noticed making this video, was $6, which somehow seems like the most insane markup of all this stuff. Salad with lobster, 8 blini with caviar, and glass of white wine came to $164.54 before tip. After tip, it totaled just over $200. Definitely not a cheap lunch. So was it worth it? Well, in the interest of full transparency, my mom paid for this lunch, so let's hear from her first. We are back from our lunch. What'd you think?
Well, I splurged and got caviar and blinis and a glass of wine, one, and it was absolutely delicious and worth it to me. But it was a treat. That is certainly not an everyday or every week thing to do, but it was totally worth it to me. I loved it.
As for me, I think RH is worth it for certain situations. Obviously, if this is within your budget. Now, you don't have to come to RH and order caviar. You don't have to order buttered lobster on your salad. There are many less expensive menu items to choose from. Now, are you going to get out of here without spending close to $40 or $50? You know, unless you get one of the cheapest menu items and no drink at all, probably not. But there's a middle ground. You don't have to spend $200. B, this is a place that moms love. Every time I've gone to RH, I've looked around the dining room, and I always see groups of women, large and small, of all ages. They're often celebrating something. You can tell they've often dressed up for the occasion. They always look like they're having a blast and really enjoying the atmosphere. I think aunties love this place. I think grandmas love this place. I've seen people bring their young daughters, nieces. They seem to love it. I think if you have a girly pop in your life, no matter the age, and you have the money to splash out on a fancy lunch, and you want to make them feel special, I think this is a perfectly nice option. Maybe take them out to lunch here, then run them across the street to South Park and buy them something at Sephora. It's a great way to make a lady feel special. I think if you're a girly pop and you have the shekels, this could even be a fun little friend date or a solo date if you just want to feel fancy. And I think everyone wants to feel a little fancy sometimes. When it gets down to brass tacks, you can absolutely find better meals for less money. That should go without saying. But in some ways, that's sort of beside the point at RH. The point of coming to RH is to inhabit this luxe bubble for a bit. And other than the box thing, I think it delivers on that. The food is good. You're not going to have a bad meal unless Gary decides to ban some other staple kitchen ingredient again. Joking aside, the food is good. I don't think you're going to have a bad meal here. The service is good. The ambiance feels fancy. The 2024 article has some quotes from diners from a couple of different RH restaurants, and I think they reflect well also the experience. Quote, "It's not like Wolfgang Puck," said Christy Clary, 55, of Newport Beach, California, who was visiting the RH Rooftop restaurant at RH New York. That's his brand. He's the chef. This just has to be good basic. Anuja Beauchamp, 45, a customer at RH Rooftop restaurant at RH Dallas, returned to the restaurant to see if they're going to trade out the chandeliers in the dining room. She said she didn't have high expectations of the food, but it was better than she expected. Faith Wild, 25, another guest in Dallas, said that these days she is more interested in a restaurant's appearance. If it doesn't look like this, we probably won't even go, she said. So again, folks are coming for the aesthetics, not the food. The food is good. That's not what you're there for. Now recall that quote from before. Sell a premium product in a setting so dazzling that it seems worth near luxury prices. I think this sums up the experience well too. RH is trying to dazzle you at every turn, from the caviar proud menu to the chandelier filled space. And I think this experience is made for people who were happy being dazzled by those things, the ambiance, the space, the look and feel of the place, more so than the food. Again, the food was good, great even, but it almost feels secondary to the experience. Like, you're here to be here, you're here to take a picture here, you're here to tell friends that you came here, to go back into the world after feeling like you've treated yourself to something high-end and exclusive. You're not really here for the French dip sandwich. You can get one for $10 cheaper somewhere else. But sometimes you just want to feel fancy. Sometimes you want to make someone you love feel fancy. Am I putting this on my list of like Charlotte's top best restaurants? No. Charlotte's best value restaurants? Absolutely not. But maybe top places to go if you want to feel fancy? Sure, it can be on that list. There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel fancy. This is a perfectly legit spot to make that happen. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there are any other Charlotte restaurants in particular you want me to dig into and share my opinion about, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!
They're offering me jobs.
Do you want a job?
No. I don't want a job. I'm not Rebecca from Klarna. Your background and resume have been recommended by multiple online recruitment agencies. Yeah, right. I'm 70 years old.